Amazing, amazing. Welcome, 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 everyone. I'm absolutely thrilled to see all of you joining us live today. And whether you are watching us from your home, office, or maybe you are, but just even tuning in while sipping your evening tea or enjoying a peaceful moment of reflection, wherever you are, know that you've made the right choice to be here in this powerful space of growth and wisdom. And friends, as we are gathering here in real time, I want you to take a deep breath, settle into the moment, and allow yourself to be fully present. Because what we are about to experience today has the potential to shift something deep within. And it's my great honor and joy to welcome our incredible guest for today, Dr. Jonathan Glass, a renowned naturopathic doctor, Ayurvedic practitioner, and master acupuncturist. His presence, energy, and knowledge have transformed thousands of lives. And today he's here with us to share something truly special. And I'm sure that you know the topic. We are diving deep into the beautiful topic that is the five goals of life, Ayurveda's blueprint for success, peace of mind, and wholeness. So stay with us, engage in the comment, and get ready for a heart opening, mind expanding journey. But before I hand over the stage to Dr. Jonathan, as a ritual, I'll just give you a brief introduction about him. So, Dr. Jonathan Glass, MAC, is the founder and author of the Total Life Cleans. He is a naturopathic doctor, as I said, master acupuncturist, Ayurvedic practitioner, energy healer, herbalist, and natural health educator. Dr. Jonathan served on the faculty of the New England School of Acupuncture and the Dharma Institute of Yoga and Ayurveda. He has facilitated thousands through his Jivatma energy healing and total life cleans programs. So he's been in private practice since 1987. So today you will be learning a lot from his experience. And when he co-founded the Healing Essence Center with Catherine Glass in Concord, Massachusetts, USA, that was in 1987. And since then, he is into this practice. Amazing, amazing. So, welcome, Dr. Glass, and I'm sure that we are going to get something amazing today.
Thank you, Prasant, so much for that very beautiful introduction. Grateful for all your kind words. So today I wanted to touch on a subject that those of you who are familiar with the yoga tradition, perhaps you're living in India, perhaps you're in other parts of the world, and perhaps not. Maybe there's some of you out there that aren't so familiar. But these are topics that we can return to again and again. Because when we hear these topics, as we grow, as we mature, as we practice in our life, self-improvement in different ways, all of these topics tend to take on new and fresh meanings. So if you've heard them before, perhaps you'll hear them in a new light that can inspire you today. And if you haven't heard them before, I hope, like Prashant said, that something deep inside will shift. Even a little shift can go a long way. So I'm going to be talking about the 5 goals of life according to Ayurveda, according to the Vedas. So when we think about the goals of life, sometimes people think, well, I don't want to be too goal-oriented. I want to be in the present moment. And that's very important, of course. But when we understand in what way does all of humanity, there's many ways in which we're one. And a very important way is that we all have the same needs, the same desires, ultimately. They may manifest in very different ways. But when we honor and recognize what are the most important goals that a human being can have. And when we recognize those goals and see how we are aligned with those goals, then we can better have a successful life. Successfully physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. All of these things go together. So I'm gonna generally speak about the 5 goals, and then I'm going to go through each one independently. So they are called Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and Prem. So Dharma, again, very briefly, means your innate nature or purpose. Artha generally means that which is needed. And in many cases, we think about that in terms of having our economic needs, our physical needs met, the basic needs of life. Calm means pleasure. Calm means pleasure. So human beings, all living entities really seek pleasure. And as a human being, we also require pleasure. It's a natural desire. And then moksha. Moksha, generally speaking, means liberation. Ultimately, it means spiritual freedom. It can mean other types of freedom as well. But generally speaking, the human being, we want to be free. And then Prem indicates the highest love, unconditional love. And this is considered to be the greatest goal of life. Just like a baby that's not given love, it can't prosper, it doesn't grow properly. All living beings require love for success. So now I'd like to go through each one of these topics in a little bit of detail. Dharma is a very interesting word. Many people use the word in different ways. On one side of things, sometimes it means religiosity, like the Brahmin doing his rituals very nicely, very properly, or a religious person doing their daily duties very nicely, very properly. But on the other side, that's a very specific meaning. In a general meaning, Dharma means that quality which is inherent in a person. So the Dharma, for example, the quality inherent in something, the quality inherent in fire is heat and light. And you can't separate those two things. So the Dharma of water is liquidity. You can't separate that. Now, water can become frozen, but that's not its natural state. Its natural state is liquid. So that quality which is inherent in something, that's our Dharma. So the idea is that each and every living being has a Dharma. And we have something related to our present life situation. What is our Dharma? In a deeper way, it means what are my gifts? How can I best serve this world with my gifts? Who am I? What are my qualities? When I am at my very best and I'm really honoring the gifts that I have, am I using them? Am I sharing them? So that's Dharma. And we'll talk more about Dharma also. There's levels of it because from the Vedic perspective, the soul is eternal. So we have a Dharma of our present life, and we have the Dharma of the soul. What is the Dharma of the soul? The Dharma of the soul is to love. So the nature of the soul itself is love. So when we're aligning more and more all the time with the nature of the soul, we're more aligned with our Dharma. When we're aligning more and more with our present situation and fulfilling our purpose in this situation to the best of our ability, then we're fulfilling our Dharma. And there's a satisfaction in Dharma. There's 4 legs of Dharma, very important. Without these 4 legs, we're not fully practicing Dharma. The first one is truthfulness. Second one is compassion. The third one is cleanliness. And the fourth one is discipline. So to fulfill Dharma, we have to be truthful. We have to be compassionate. We have to be disciplined. And we have to be clean or pure, meaning in our behavior and activities. I don't mean pure like the greatest saints necessarily, pure in our activities, pure in our behaviors. So, for example, somebody may be very disciplined, but they may be very uncompassionate or untruthful. So an example I sometimes give is somebody in a company, they may be very motivated, very disciplined to rise to the top, but if they're tearing down other people by lying and by being unkind, then that's not Dharma. That's something else. So when all these four go together, truth, compassion, we have to be kind. Now someone could be compassionate, right? But if they have no discipline, then they won't be able to fulfill their Dharma. Someone may be truthful, right? Some people can be very blunt, very honest. But if they have no compassion, then that's not Dharma. So all these four legs are there. It's like a table. When one of those legs is missing, the Dharma can't be fulfilled. So we always want to work on expanding, improving our capacity for truth, compassion, purity, and discipline. We need all of those. And then we have Artha. Artha. Artha, generally speaking, means economic development. The word Artha really means that which is really wanted. What do we really need? Generally speaking, all human beings, what do we need? We need a house to protect us from the elements. We need food. We need enough money so that we can, or whatever we trade with, in order to sustain our lives. So this is Artha. Different people have different types or degrees of Artha. Meaning somebody may have a very great responsibility. They may require a bigger house or more money. Someone else may be very satisfied in a very simple situation. But the way that we all align is that we all have the need for fulfilling our needs in that way. A very simple person, a very public person who maybe needs so many things, but still the foundational need is there. And then we have calm. Calm means pleasure. All living entities seek pleasure. Physical pleasure, mental pleasure, emotional pleasure, and spiritual pleasure. So we all seek pleasure. It's natural. We should never feel bad about our desire for pleasure. It's inherent in every living entity, from the ants all the way up to the demigods, right? So pleasure is very natural. However, how do we think about our own pleasure? If we're following the dharmic tendencies, if we're actually following in alignment with our dharma, then our pleasure will fall into alignment with that. In other words, we don't go outside of the bounds. If you're doing dharma, but you're being dishonest in terms of pleasure, or you're lying in terms of your pleasure, okay? Or if you're being greedy and wanting too much in terms of pleasure, then it becomes out of balance. So then it causes us to no longer be in our dharma. So pleasure is very natural. It's very important. It's very essential, even in Bhagavad Gita. For the yogi, balanced eating, and even balanced recreation is very important. We all need pleasure. But it has to be ultimately for us to be dharmic. And by the way, dharma is that which attracts prosperity. Dharma actually attracts well-being and prosperity. So when our calm is in alignment with that, then we're in alignment with our dharma as well. And then moksha. Moksha generally means liberation or freedom. Now we can think of every human being wants freedom. It's a natural, inherent desire. So this is how we're all equal in that way. Everybody wants freedom. Now, we can be wanting freedom physically. We may want mental freedom. We may want emotional freedom. We may want freedom from an oppressive government or an oppressive family or boss or whatever it is. We all want freedom. We want freedom in our body. This is why we do hatha yoga. We want freedom in our mind. This is why we work with Prashant to purify our mind and cleanse our mind and open it up to new possibilities. Sometimes we want emotional freedom. We may work on some issues that we've picked up along the way, or maybe we've had some traumas in our life and they're stagnant in the heart and even impacting us physically or mentally. So by clearing those traumas and through some healing work, which I do a lot of that in my practice, then we become more free emotionally. Then ultimately, we want spiritual freedom. All living beings, knowingly or not, atheist, non-atheist, God-loving, whatever it could be, we all want that spiritual freedom. We want the freedom to fully be ourselves, fully express ourselves without limitation. Ultimately, in the yoga system, moksha means ultimately to disidentify with the material body and to identify with the Atma, or the core self, the spiritual self. This is the ultimate, an ultimate aspect of moksha. And there's many layers and levels of spiritual realization and freedom, which I have a couple minutes I can talk about. And then I want to talk about prema, because all of those four dharmas, or sort of four goals of life, without prema, they don't mean a whole lot. Prema means love. Ultimately, it means pure love. And this pure love in this world, one of the greatest manifestations of pure love is the love of a mother for her child. This is sort of the greatest potential, because the mother's love is unconditional. Even if the child is not loving, the mother will still love. Even if the child, generally speaking, does something very naughty or even breaks the law, it's usually the mother that's most supportive. Yeah, she'll support her son no matter what, or her daughter. So this is the love in this world. But we all have within our very essence something called ananda. Ananda means bliss, but it's related to one of the energies of the divine called Hladini Shakti. It's a Shakti, it's an energy of the divine, which is pure love. And that love, there's like a particle of that love in each and every heart. Even if someone appears to be very unloving, it's there in the heart somewhere. Sometimes it's hard to even imagine with some people, but it's there. And this is something that we can all aspire to, is even if we see darkness around another person, if we can also see that somewhere in there is a spark of light, a spark of love. And it's kind of like, if it's a cloudy day and you don't see the sun, it doesn't mean that the sun doesn't exist. We know that the sun is behind the clouds. It exists. It's just being completely covered by the clouds. So in the same way, when we see others, we also want to disperse the clouds that cover the love that's in our own hearts. And there's many different ways to do that. There's the yoga system, and it's many different aspects of yoga. I'm a practitioner in the Bhakti Yoga tradition, where we connect to the soul in our own heart, and we cultivate expression of love for the divine. So this is how this is called bhakti, many people in this world, in different traditions, doesn't have to be just from India, express and awaken the divine love in their heart. So it's very important as human beings that we cultivate this love. And the amazing thing is when we do that, when we cultivate real love, and it can start with loving yourself, because you love yourself with all your faults and everything. And as when we do that, we can go deeper into who am I really? I'm a divine being. I'm a soul. I'm an Atma. And when we do that, we begin to awaken to that. Guess what? We begin to connect to my Dharma, my life purpose. Why am I here? What am I here to do? What are my gifts? What can I share with others? What's natural for me? What am I good at? What do I love doing? What excites me? What interests me? This is all connected to your Dharma. It's not separate. I think many of us have experienced trying to do things in our life that we're doing either to please someone else, or we're thinking it's practical, so therefore I have to do it. And in many cases, unless it's connected to your Dharma, sometimes people will say, I'm doing this for 3 years so that I can then do what I really want to do. But sometimes people are stuck in situations that they really dislike. And in that way, they're not fulfilling their Dharma. So we want to be able more and more to find ways to fulfill our Dharma. If somebody's in a situation where, say, they may be working and they can't see a way to, not work, maybe they have to maintain their family. But, in that way, that's part of one's Dharma, temporary Dharma. I'm a householder, I need to maintain the family. That is Dharma. But then also find other ways that you can fulfill your natural gifts. It could even be in something voluntary. It could be taking classes in areas of interest. It could be in focusing more on your inner healing and cultivating your gifts in other ways. This is very, very important to begin to really honor your true nature. And again, like I said before, excuse me, like I said before, that when we're living according to our Dharma, everything else falls into place. Our economic development tends to start manifesting in ways that previously perhaps it wasn't. And then calm, pleasure, natural things come into our life. People, places, situations, opportunities come. And then we also realize, what can I do as a recreation that's in balance with my Dharma? I love what I do. I love my work. I love my family. I love so many things. But I also need to take time for myself to balance it out. This is also calm. Personally, I like to go, there's a lake nearby me. And in the summer, I get great pleasure from going there and swimming and relaxing by the lake. And it's just 10 minutes from my house. I can drive there, I can ride my bike there. But I found that very balancing from working all day with patients. Then I get to go there, just chill out, relax, be in nature, get some exercise. So that's an example of, the cool water and the beautiful sun. It's such a pleasurable experience. So finding pleasures in life in relationship to your Dharma. It's all really about two things. One is doing whatever you do in relationship to your Dharma, and ultimately cultivating prema. By the way, prema includes all of these. So prem will include moksha. Prem includes moksha. Moksha doesn't necessarily include prem, but prem includes moksha. Pure love includes freedom. Pure love includes pleasure. Pure love ultimately will give the living entity everything they need. And pure love will ultimately help us fulfill our dharma. So all of them go together. So I hope you have a nice broad understanding of these things. And again, remember with dharma, the four legs: truth, being truthful, compassionate, clean or pure, and disciplined. Yes, we need discipline. Sometimes in this age, people frown on the word discipline, thinking it can be very dry. And it can be dry if it doesn't have compassion. It can be very dry without compassion. So then we can balance that out. Discipline without truth, discipline without compassion is very dry and sometimes painful. But when there's love, when there's compassion, then discipline's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So I just want to touch on 2 or 3 other things that I think are very important. And, sometimes people might ask me, why am I talking about these things when it comes to personal health? Because the reality is, when we are aligned with ourselves and we're living aligned with cosmic laws of life and reality, then typically what tends to happen is that the physical body functions at a higher level. You could say it vibrates. The cells are happier. When the cells are happy and content, then the body's healthier and happier. So when we're functioning in the realm of dharma, then the body will become healthier. The mind will become healthier and more clear. Emotionally, we will be more satisfied and content with our life just by living a dharmic life. And in this age that we're living in, it's actually very important because, generally speaking, people are very, very confused about this topic. They don't know that dharma is real. They don't necessarily know that they should have some degree of curbing on their pleasures. And people these days sometimes don't even know that it's important to be truthful, and even, you could say even more so, compassionate. They don't know how important these things are. It's not something that we try in education, but this is one of the beautiful gifts of the ancient culture of India and the Vedas and the Ayurveda. It holds these principles as foundations of sanity in this world. And with this healthy sanity, physical, mental, emotional benefits will come, and ultimately spiritually. So dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and prem will all be there, which is essential for the individual and truly beneficial for the world. So one other thing I'll mention, I know I just have a couple minutes here, is that in Ayurveda, there's a very interesting understanding of the 2 causes of disease. 2 causes of disease. The first one is called ama, which means toxin. And sometimes we think of toxin as just being, breathing in gasoline or fumes or herbicides, pesticides, heavy metals, chemicals. And that is because those are a definite cause of disease in this world. Never before have we been exposed to so many toxins. In the West, we have over 100,000 chemicals in our environment. Only 20,000 have ever been tested for human safety, and never have they been tested synergistically, meaning all together, or even 5 or 6 together. So these toxins are very, very difficult for the body to handle these days and cause a lot of problems. But toxin can also be mental toxin, and emotional toxin. Ayurveda says the cause of emotional imbalances are undigested experiences. Undigested experiences or traumas get stuck in the fascia and in the energy body. We call it in Chinese medicine the meridians of the body. It gets stuck there, and then ultimately it causes a physical problem. So it's a very good thing to face these traumas, digest them, work them out, and they won't ever be a happy memory perhaps, but it's something you can look at, you can talk about if you have to, and it's not going to trigger you and stay stuck in your body. So it's very important to remove emotional toxins, to deal with them. And then we even have, you could talk about spiritual toxins. And what does that mean? Spiritual toxins would be being overly dogmatic, being overly judgmental of people who are practicing differently than you. There's nothing wrong with making distinctions. There's nothing wrong with understanding how what you're doing is different and perhaps why you feel what you're doing is more beneficial for you personally and maybe even a higher goal. That's okay if we want to see things like that. But to be dogmatic and hateful toward another, I call that a spiritual toxin. Another spiritual toxin is gossip. Gossip is like junk food. So if we eat too much sugar and candies and milk sweets, eventually we feel sick. They taste good at first, but then we feel sick. In the same way, when we gossip or find fault with others, it may be, it's a strange thing, pleasurable up front, but we always suffer from it. And the truth is we take on those negative qualities that we're talking about in another person, and we take them right into our own heart, which is sort of the universal law, universal trick that I find fault in you, I criticize you, I meditate on your bad qualities. Guess what? They all go into my heart. So this is something we really want to avoid. This is a spiritual toxin. And then the last thing I want to mention is something called pragyaparad. Pragyaparad is considered to be the original cause of all disease. And what does that mean? It means aparad means to offend or go against. Pragya means knowledge, wisdom, experience, and in a deep way, it means intuition or knowing. So when we ignore what we already know, when we ignore our common sense, when we ignore our intuition, when we do that enough, eventually it's going to show up in the form of some kind of disease, whether it's emotional, mental, and ultimately physical. So it's very important by connecting to your essence. This is why healing and yoga and personal growth and spiritual growth is so important. When we do such things, we become more connected internally, more tuned in to what is our intuition, and more able to use our innate intelligence to make better choices in our life in the moment. So there's many practices, there's many stressors in this material world that we're living in. There's so much conflict, fear, and struggle we can see everywhere. But as we as human beings cultivate a deeper connection with ourself, reconnecting to our dharma, reconnecting to prema, and reconnecting to our divine identity with source, with God, goddess. And by doing that, we grow spiritually, and the world benefits. Never doubt for a minute what one act of compassion and kindness can do for you, for that person, and even ripple out in the world. One of the things in Ayurveda says that our ojas, which is related to immune system, is dependent on our capacity for kindness and compassion. So I think I'll leave it here that the root of everything that we're talking about is reconnecting with your dharma, compassion, and ultimately prema, which will all contribute to being more in touch with yourself and being the best human you can be, and ultimately waking up to your true divine identity. So I'll leave it here. Thank you so much.
Wow, that's amazing, Dr. Jonathan. Amazing. What's a wonderful session. Thank you so much for
You're welcome.
sharing your insights. So, friends, now we are open for questions, and so you can ask if you have any doubt, if you have any question. So, Dr. Jonathan is here to answer. Meanwhile, I have some questions with me. I've received some questions from them.
Okay.
Okay. So the first question is like, what exactly is the biggest misconception people have about Ayurveda?
The biggest misconception about Ayurveda. Okay, there's probably a few, but the first one that comes to mind is that Ayurveda is an ancient system that's no longer relevant today, and that's inherently not true, because Ayurveda is not a stagnant system. It is based on natural laws, and those natural laws don't change. So it's just extremely adaptable to time, place, and circumstance. Another thing that I've said is that, or that I've noticed over the years, there's nothing in Ayurveda that I've ever seen as of yet that modern science has proven to be wrong. I've never seen anything. Even things like, a lot of people in the West have big problems with dairy and wheat. Where in Ayurveda, wheat's considered a good grain. It's not a grain that you would have if someone was very sick because it's a little harder to digest. Dairy is considered a good food in Ayurveda, but in Ayurveda, it's used very wisely. Also, the cows of ancient Ayurveda produce different milk than what we're producing now. And even there's a protein, beta-casein A2, which is a protein that was predominant in the cows of India thousands of years ago, and many cows still. But now the cows are all being hybridized to make the most milk. And there's a protein called beta-casein A1, which is probably only 1,000 or 2,000 years old. And that particular protein is causing a lot of trouble for people.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that they were wrong about milk. It was just, one, it was the type of milk. And two, it was the different ways that milk was used. In Ayurveda, no one drank a big glass of cold milk in the morning. But in the West, we'll take the milk out of the fridge, pour a big, huge glass, even if I have a stuffy nose or a cold, and I'll drink a big glass of milk. Because we don't have this knowledge. We don't know, okay, heat some milk, put a little turmeric, cardamom, raw sugar, ginger, a little bit before bed, help me sleep, make my brain. Our teacher used to say, milk like that before bed makes the brain so that it can understand the higher principles of life. But it's just a little, and it's hot, and it's got the right spices to reduce phlegm, and it's the right kind of milk. So my point being that there's many aspects of Ayurveda that are incredibly pertinent for today.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the amazing answer. Thank you so much. And there is another one. How can someone begin like his journey towards wholeness?
Towards holiness.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I'm not so sure I'm qualified to answer that, but I'll trust that I'm answering it for a reason. Um, ultimately, really, the best thing is to seek out the association of those who are sincere on the path of self-realization. Association is so important. I mean, that is ultimately I think the best answer is, yes, you can read books, very important. But find someone that you feel some trust with, or you want to explore a relationship with, and hear from that person. And sometimes we have to go through a few different channels. Sometimes you might meet a teacher and it may resonate or it may not, but by associating with those people that actually have a significant degree of sincerity on the spiritual path, that's really the fastest way to grow. It's just like, if I want to learn how to fix a car, I wouldn't go to a banker. I would go to somebody who's expert in fixing cars and who's committed their life to learning how to fix a car. That's their passion. So in the same way, and that would inspire me, and I would learn in a way much better than in a book. Give me a book on mechanics, forget it. But if I have somebody there showing me how to do this and do that, then I'll learn it. In the same way, if we associate with people that are like-minded, affectionate, the person should be affectionate, should be some
Yeah.
kindness, and they can inspire you on the path, then go with that. And then, of course, there's a universal principle of kirtan. Go to a different yoga centers and so many places. Kirtan in this age is a universal principle to awaken and open up the heart for love of God. So there's many, many places that are performing kirtan these days, and I would, avail yourself to that as well.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, so there is another one. How, like, when we talk about these five goals, how can one apply them in the modern day life?
Yeah, it's a great
Is it
question.
possible?
I mean, the five goals, in one sense, the point is we all have them anyway. Even modern life, maybe some of you know about Kali Yuga, the age that we're living in right now, according to Vedic astrological considerations, we're living in what's called the Iron Age, which is fraught with anxiety. It's fraught
Yeah.
with dishonesty, the tendency to fight and argue. It's a fairly degraded age, but in this particular age, it's a very strange thing. It's extremely degraded on one hand, but it's extremely auspicious on the other hand. You can just see how many people are waking up right now. How many people are inspired to grow spiritually and personally. It's a beautiful thing. As challenging as it is, it's also so many people are waking up. So the challenge in this age is that the culture, an aspect of the culture, kind of tells us, just get what you want. You don't really have to be honest. Fake your compassion just to get what you want. So yeah, there's culturally speaking, there's a lot of cheating and anxiety, and so the thing is that we have to understand that it's your life and it's your soul. So if you want the real thing, then you have to go for the real thing. Kali Yuga is a time when there's a lot of cheating, even spiritual cheating. There's many teachers. We've heard, how many of us haven't heard how many so-called rabbis or Christian leaders or gurus that have fallen from their position.
Yeah.
It's just fraught with that. There's a lot of cheating. So we have to be sincere and do our best and know that ultimately you will still, those laws of success are still there. So we just have to be as dharmic as we can, understand what our needs are and go for that. Don't go for more, but don't go for less. My teacher said, don't be so rich that you're stressed out about everything because you have too much money to deal with, but don't be so poor that you're always in anxiety. Find a nice balance. You can fulfill your needs, your nature, but find that balance. So I would just say, these laws are natural. Be yourself. Be yourself and try to be the best you that you can. And you'll naturally start, fulfilling the 5 goals of life. And then if you have a little spiritual interest, then follow that as well. Follow that inspiration.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much once again. So, one more question, which has been asked by. Okay. How does Ayurveda define success?
How does Ayurveda? Oh, it's a great question. So success is on many levels, and just like the Vedas themselves can be a little confusing sometimes because there's success in this world. But what about the success after this life? Ayurveda touches on that too. But let's stay with this life for a minute. So success in this life is fulfillment of Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. It's fulfilling your Dharma, fulfilling all your economic needs, fulfilling your natural pleasures in this life, and ultimately becoming detached from those things and free, spiritually free. And then ultimately attaining love, okay? So, yeah, very simply, that's how Ayurveda would explain it. We are human beings. We are spiritual beings. We've all heard this. We're spiritual beings with a human body. Ayurveda is a beautiful system that helps us fulfill our human goals and desires while at the same time staying in the vicinity of focusing on our spiritual life as well. So to bridge those two worlds. So this is basically one of the, you could say, the general main offering of Ayurveda in this world is to give the human being the opportunity to fulfill their desires, to fulfill who they are as a person, and at the same time grow spiritually as a spiritual being. Not that we have to join an ashram or live in a mountain only, or not that we just focus on material life and ignore our spiritual life. Ayurveda, I guess you would say the success of Ayurveda would be that you're able to bridge both of those worlds together in a healthy way where both tracks are there. And in fact, sometimes they're seamless or they weave together very beautifully.
Yeah.
Just like Prashant offering this podcast. So it may be that he does a podcast and somebody sends him thousands of new clients, which is wonderful. But also he's doing this as a service. He's helping so many people by sharing messages that are very inspiring. So it's weaving everything together. So yes, so that would be there. Now in Ayurveda also there is an understanding that when the soul dies, it goes somewhere else. So this is the impetus on the spiritual dimension, where at the end of life, and throughout our whole life, but especially as we get older, we want to really be focusing on spiritual life, because when we leave, we have a destination and the soul's eternal. In the Western cosmology, it's quite simplified, and I think therefore lacking. That is heaven or hell, and that's it. But we know in the Vedas, it's much more complex. There's many higher realms, there's many lower realms, there's the middle realms, like where we are now. So we want to cultivate a development of our spiritual consciousness based on compassion and love and connection with the divine, so that we are always moving in a positive direction. that our soul is also moving in a positive direction. And Ayurveda includes that. It includes that. So I'll leave it there with that.
Right. Yeah. That's amazing. Once again, thank you so much. And my friend, please let us know if that answers your question. And thank you so much for asking this question.
Great question.
Another one comes here. I want to balance my life.
Mm-hmm.
So how Ayurveda can help me in balancing my like spiritual goals and material goals too?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's kind of like touching on what we were talking about before,
Yeah.
and so it might be a good idea to make a list. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha.
Hmm.
Who am I? Dharma. What is my essence? What are the things I'm good at? What are the things I like to do? What are the things I really want? Sometimes people say, oh, you should just shoot for the stars. Yes, but shoot for your stars. What do you really want? Not what your mother wants you to have, or your father, or someone else thinks you need, whatever. What do you really want in your heart? I would be very satisfied with a mansion, or I'd be very satisfied with a hut. Whatever it is, it's okay. Whatever you really want, that's important to know. Who am I? What do I want? What gives me pleasure? What do things that I like to do? And in what ways do I want to be free? And then prem, in what ways can I increase my capacity for love? And then think about, what is my spiritual interest? In what ways would I like to grow spiritually? What things can I do to improve my spiritual life? So one thing on a practical level, I would say, is that if you can take some time in the morning, maybe a little bit before the sunrise, most
Yeah.
auspicious time of day. If you can, get up early. If that means going to bed a little bit earlier at night, that would be good. These days, it's very difficult with our phones and computers. Looks like the world is awake 24 hours a day now. So it's a big issue for a lot of people. I'm always having to wind it back, like turn off the phone, throw it away, get it over there, because it's a real challenge these days for people.
Yeah.
But it's really important. But I would say, if you can devote anywhere from 10 minutes to 2 hours in the morning, depending
Hmm.
on where you're at, just to your spiritual life, just to
Yeah.
doing some meditation, some yoga, some prayer, some reading, some inspiring or sacred books, and just take it in and let that become a habit. And by having that as a habit, little by little, you'll find that not only does it affect your day, but it affects your view and your consciousness throughout your
Yeah.
life. And if you do it year after year, then you'll become stronger and stronger in that. But having that habit is so powerful. If we don't we know this understanding, wherever we put our energy, energy goes there. So
That's
we
right.
can't really want spiritual life if we're not putting any energy into it. So we have to do something practical. But spiritual
That's
life
right.
is also practical. It's not just meditating on a mountain. It's practical. So it's up to us. This is one of the great gifts of being human, is we have independence. It's described that God is the supreme independent, but we have a particle of that in us. And that independence is the greatest gift that a human being has. We should always remember that I have choice. I have choice in every moment and everything about my life. I have choice. There is a choice, every situation. So you have choice to wake up in the morning and create a habit where you're making some effort to spiritually connect to yourself and to the divine. And then, like I said before, if you have a community or some friends or some teachers that you can go hear from and learn from. You don't have to surrender to anybody until you feel like you want to, but you want to begin to learn and open up your mind to new ways of seeing things and to new spiritual realities. That'll be very healthy. And then do your life, do your dharma. Just go on with your day. Like I do my thing in the morning. I go to my practice. I do my work. I'm not thinking the whole day. Let me just meditate the whole day. I'm doing my dharma. And then I come back, go to bed, wake up in the morning, do my spiritual practices again. Very nourishing, very strengthening, very energizing. And not to mention they help keep me relatively sane in a very crazy world. So
That's right. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much once again. So, friends, we are moving on. So, once again, if you have any question, you can ask. And with this, I've got one more question here. Like, if I want to improve my health, so by aligning with these 5 goals, will I be able to do that?
it's a great question. Very good. I would say yes, absolutely. For example, a very simple one. So personally, I'll give an example. I am sensitive to modern wheat. Ancient wheat I can eat, but modern wheat from America,
Yeah.
I'm sensitive to. I don't do well with it. In fact, if I eat it, then I'll get tired. My brain will shut down. I'll start yawning. So when I'm working with people, I know, my work is my dharma, you could say. If I eat wheat for lunch, then I'll be yawning in front of my client. And that's not very good. Who wants to have a doctor, falling asleep while you're talking to them? Not a good idea. So I'm sacrificing a pleasure. That wheat pizza may be very good, that wheat bread sandwich may be very good, but I'm sacrificing that pleasure for my dharma. Okay, I'm making a choice. So when we align our pleasure with our dharma, then we can, it can be a more of a healthy thing. And when we're aligned with our dharma, believe it or not, we're more satisfied, because what we eat, how we live, our exercise, lifestyle, all these things are so important for our health.
Yeah.
So important. So if I know if I eat well and take care of this body, 2 things will happen. 1, I will be more healthy. And 2, I'm going to have the energy to fulfill my dharma. I'm going to want to take care of myself. I don't want to expose myself, even though having a drink and, this and that, whatever, might be fun. But if it's going to make me foggy headed, or if I'm eating crappy food that makes me feel dull and lethargic and toxic, then how am I going to have the energy and vitality and enthusiasm to fulfill my dharma? I won't. So if we make all of our choices based on our dharma, the byproduct is that we'll be healthier, because what we put in our body is extremely important for our health. Extremely important. We can't, some people can get away with junk food for a while, but after a while it catches up, and it will affect your mind. It'll affect your cellular energy, and we become toxic. Affects the liver. The liver is the seat of the emotions and vision and excitement for life. All those things will be impacted. So we eat clean, we eat healthy, find out what works best for us, and fulfill our dharma. It goes together. The byproduct of taking good care of ourselves is renewed and improved health. And then sometimes we may need a little extra support, along the way, with a practitioner who maybe give you that herb, restrict this food, whatever it may be, do this lifestyle, do this yoga posture for something maybe helpful. But they all go together. They all go together for sure.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much once again for the amazing answer. And with this, okay. So she says, how does my daily routine impact my journey towards these goals?
How does my what impact? I didn't catch that word.
My daily routine.
Daily routine.
impact
Oh, daily
your
routine.
journey? Yeah.
Yeah. Daily routine is very important. We call that sadhana, right? Daily routine.
Yeah.
That what you focus on. So wherever you put your energy, life energy follows. That's just how it is. If we're always thinking in a negative way, guess what? We'll attract negativity. If we think in a positive way, we'll attract positivity. Very simple.
Yeah.
Not always so easy to do unless we practice it or are guided by somebody who can support us in that way. But it's natural also. We just need guidance. Just like, again, the mechanic. I'm not a mechanic, but if someone teaches me something, I can do something. So the daily routine is very important because we are creatures of habit, and
Mhm.
creating those regulated behaviors, then they can become automatic. So, for example, for myself, it's practically speaking automatic now that I will do some kind of practice, spiritual practice in the morning. It still may require some discipline, but because I'm so used to doing it, it's no longer a struggle every time. Maybe a little struggle. There's some mornings where I'm like, oh man, I just want to stay in bed. Or
Mm.
I'm a little foggy in the morning, getting up, maybe I didn't sleep enough, whatever. But still, because I'm so used to it, I'm so disciplined around doing it after all these years, it's easy. And now, then I can go deeper into it because I'm not struggling just to do it. It's a little bit like going to the gym, right? We may not want to go, but we go and we exercise. Oh, I feel so much better. So it's the same way with our daily healthy routines, whether they're physical health routines, spiritual health routines. Ayurveda says there's internal exercise, which is spiritual health, and external exercise, which is physical health. Both are important, but having regularity is very, very helpful and important. Um, the body, to some degree, acts like a machine, right? So it's nice to not always have to think. Just like if you normally eat at 12 noon, your stomach will start gurgling. And it's actually healthier for the body to eat on a regular basis, not always changing the times and things like that, because your digestive juices start secreting automatically at 12 noon in this example. So you might as well just keep eating like that. And yes, shaking it up sometimes is a good thing, or it's not a bad thing. But for the most part, that regularity is very, very helpful for the human being.
It's always necessary to be consistent in the journey, right?
Yeah.
To achieve the
Yes,
desired.
absolutely.
Wonderful. So, friends, once again, that we are talking about the 5 goals of life. So, if you have any question, then again you can ask. And with this, Dr. Jonathan, I got one more question, and that is, how can I track my progress in like when I'm living these 5 goals?
It's a nice question. Very nice question. I think, you could be, if you're a practical person and you like to make lists and write things down or keep a journal, if you write down Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, Prem, and the four legs of Dharma, truth, compassion, purity, discipline, then every day at the end of the day, just look through. Okay, was
Mhm.
how did I do in the truth department? How did I do in the compassion department? How did I do in the cleanliness, department? Oh, I forgot. I haven't showered in 4 days. Okay, I can use some help in that one. Uh, how am I doing in the compassion department or the discipline department? Well, I was a little lazy today. I was very nice to the lady at the store, very compassionate, helped her walk across the street, but I was pretty lazy otherwise. So that's just, that's just a thought, just reassess. You can even, or you can just, if you don't want to write it down, just go through your head at night and think about how did I fulfill those four legs?
Mhm.
How did, and then you can think about what is it that I really want in life, you know, and did I take any time for recreation today or the last few days? Do I need something? Let me tune in with myself. This is part of the intuition. Do I need some downtime? Do I need some fun, some pleasure in my life? I've been working really hard, pushing. I'm feeling stressed. Okay, that's an indication. Time to chill out a little bit. Time to take some time for yourself. And
Yeah.
what parts of me don't feel free? And taking a knowledge, at the end of every day and before you go to bed, that's a good time to do that. And how can I improve my love? How can I increase my love? How can I increase my love of self and the divine? And just reassess every day. Very quickly. You can do it in 2-3 minutes. Doesn't have to be a big, long thing.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much once again. So, my friend, please let us know if that answers your question. It was a wonderful question. Thank you so much. So, keep asking your question. I'm enjoying the way you are asking questions, and Dr. Jonathan, the way you are answering the question is amazing.
Mm.
So, with this, I've got another one. I am a parent, so just want to know how can I teach these values to my children?
Mm. First of all, understand them to yourself. Uh, and then, to the best of your ability, practice them yourself.
Mhm.
And it's not about, that's why we say practice. Sometimes people say, oh, I don't like meditation. It's too difficult. Well, well, it's a practice. Why do we call it a
Mhm.
practice? Because we're practicing. It's an ongoing process. It's not
Yeah.
like and it's usually a crooked river, you know. Sometimes it swirls back, but it's a practice. So if you're authentically doing your best at practicing, not perfecting, but practicing, then you will be able to articulate to your children very easily the same thing, to do your best. There was that story, and I've heard it with different people, but I did hear it once in relationship to Gandhi, where a mother
Okay.
you've heard that one, brought her son, please tell him to stop eating sugar. And he said, okay, come back in 3 days. And she came
Yeah,
back,
that's right.
and he said, no, come back in 3 days more. And then finally he said, okay, stop eating sugar. And then she said, why did I have to come back twice? He said, well, because I hadn't stopped eating sugar yet.
That's right.
So, the
That's an
principle is,
amazing story,
if we
amazing
can
incident,
if
I
we
should say.
can practice it ourselves, then we can start teaching our children very beautiful things about the importance of compassion, about the importance of discipline, about the importance of truthfulness and being clean, and knowing
That's
that
right.
it's okay to want what you want in life, but in relationship, and that you have a dharma, you have a purpose, you have gifts. Start
Yeah.
teaching your children what are in and in the ancient Vedic culture. My teacher used to tell me that the parents would never discipline a child until they were about 5 years old, because the child was just unfolding, it's very natural. And then they would start disciplining, but the whole time they're watching the nature of the child. And this is even where very good Vedic astrology comes in, because it helps to identify what are the gifts, what is the nature of that child. So that rather than forcing them into a funnel of how they're supposed to be, that society says, you're nourishing that person to become the best version of themselves that they can be. So
Yeah.
that's, I think, as parents, ultimately, even though it's scary sometimes because we want our kids to succeed, they have to take care of themselves in this wild world, but still we also want to nourish their gifts. We want to fan who they are as a person and fan the best qualities in them and help them manifest. And so by having this broad framework of how to see a person and know that we all have this dharma, we all have this innate tendencies, this innate nature that goes
Yeah.
very deep. We all have gifts. We want to fan those gifts, and by acknowledging yourself, nourishing it in your children, and then you can, as they get older and smarter, you can start explaining to them these words, and they can start having a very good sense of this terminology and appreciation. And because it's natural, I mean, we all have needs, we all have desires, we all want freedom, we all want to be ourselves and express our gifts in this world, and we all want love. It's not, in the West, these are fancy Sanskrit words. In India, these are words that people have probably heard millions of times in their life, but hearing them in a fresh way is very important, because now we realize that, wow, my culture, my heritage has so much, but maybe I've heard it in fossilized perspectives, or I haven't really thought about it from that perspective. But these are eternal truths in this world. These are eternal principles that are always there. And if we appreciate them, they'll help us in our lives.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much once again. So now I have the last question of this session is like, any final tip you want to give to the people who are watching us now and who will be watching us later?
Okay. Well, thank you so much. So I think the main message is kind of like what I've been touching on is, in this wild and crazy world that we're living in, that you have a particle of divine independence, and that you always have there's always a point of power, whatever situation we may be in, that we can make choices that are beneficial for ourselves, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, that we are meant as human beings to not be stagnant, to keep growing. And sometimes that growth, again, is like a crooked river, but always moving forward, always growing, and try to reawaken the desire for real spiritual self-realization and even love of the divine, because we are all part of, from my understanding, is that the source of everything is pure love. And if we serve that love, then that's called Sanatana Dharma. Maybe you've heard that word. That's the eternal Dharma of the soul. If we do that, all the other dharmas will fall into place. And this is why having some kind of spiritual practice is very important, but also doing your work in this world with enthusiasm and trying to be yourself and authentic to the greatest degree possible. And all your desires can be fulfilled that way. Not only that, the byproduct of that will be improved health, physically and mentally and emotionally, which we all want as well. No problem wanting that. So that would be my final message.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. So now, friends, we are reaching to the end of the session, and what I should say that what a truly enriching and soul nourishing experience this has been. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank each and every one of you who joined us today and joined this live, stayed present till now, and opened your hearts to receive this wisdom. Your energy, your questions, oh my God, absolutely, and your presence actually made this space sacred. And of course, a deep, heartfelt thank you to Dr. Jonathan Glass for sharing his timeless wisdom, clarity, and presence with us today. So I should say, Dr. Jonathan, your insights into these 5 goals of life and the Ayurvedic path to wholeness have truly touched us all. And friends, if you would like to connect with Dr. Jonathan, once the session will be over, I'll mention his contact details in the description. So you can connect with him, you can experience his sessions, and just go through the transformation. Remember that when you align with your purpose and live with awareness, life doesn't just change, it transforms.
Yes.
Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Jonathan, for accepting the proposal and coming here and transforming the lives for the people who are here watching us now and will be watching us later.
Thank you, Prashant, for having me. It was a real pleasure. And I really appreciated the wonderful questions as well.
Thank you. So till next time, friends, stay grounded, stay aligned, and keep walking on your path with trust and inner power. I'll see you next week with a new speaker and a new topic. Till then, stay healthy, take care, goodbye, and stay.
Namaste.